Thanks for downloading Grilled by the Staff Canteen. I'm Cara, the editor of the Staff Canteen, and in this episode I went to meet Shaun Rankin at the recently opened Grantley Hall. This multi-million pound project is amazing, and Shaun showed me around the hotel, the multiple restaurants and the nightclub. Yes, it has its own nightclub. It's pretty impressive. So sitting in his restaurant, Shaun Rankin at Grantley Hall, he spoke to me about Michelin ahead of tonight's 2020 reveal, but also how this project has given him back his passion for cooking and the sacrifice he makes personally to run both Grantley and his Mayfair restaurant, Ormer. Okay, so to start with, before we talk about Grantley, let's talk about the fact that you're from Yorkshire. So is it nice to have a base back up here?
It is. It's fabulous to be back up in Yorkshire. I was born here and grew up in not too far away in Durham City, so it's nice to be home. And I left home when I was 16, 17, went straight to London and I never came back. So it's I'm making my way back.
Yeah, so it's nice to be back in the north.
Yes,
and we've got a sunny day today as well.
Exactly.
Makes a change. And so Grantley Hall, it's amazing. It's very impressive. You've been on the project for 2 years, although you said it's a 4-year project. What's it like now looking at it, and how has the process been? Have there been times where you thought, God, I should not have got involved in this, or has it always been like this is amazing?
I love a good challenge, so and I love a good development.
Yeah.
I've done 8 properties before, so I've done my own restaurant and I've done hotels and restaurants for companies and for private families. So for me, there's nothing like a good project. So no, I get my feet stuck well in, and I love it. 2 years on it. It's been quite challenging, as you can see. It's on a colossal scale, and all of the the bits that make Grantley Hall up. Very challenging. One of the challenging aspects of it all, obviously, is recruiting staff. That's been a big challenge. Like everybody has that in the UK at the moment. I was going
to ask you about that. So
that's probably one of the challenges. Apart from dealing with the contractors and when is my restaurant going to be finished so I can kit it out. No, it's been fabulous. It's been exciting. It's been a great journey. Would I do it again? Yeah, I'd do it tomorrow.
Good, that's good to hear. But this is a very different side to just being a chef, though, isn't it? You're not just cooking food here. You're project managing. You're designing. Do you enjoy that? Is that?
Yeah, I really do love it. It must have been about 10 years ago, maybe a bit longer. I got the first opportunity to do a development, and I really enjoyed it. I love developing, projects and the product. What can this space be? What does this room need to be? You look at it, and what is the market? What does what is the market around the area for this particular type of restaurant? And sometimes you're halfway through the project and you think, well, no, you steer off a little bit this way or a little bit that way. People aren't just chefs anymore. You're not just cooks anymore. You're thinking about the plateware, the glassware. We choose everything. You know what I mean? Because it matters now. People want an experience. So if on a project, you've got to get it right from the off, and finding the right things to go with your project.
Yeah. And did you think that would be a route you went down when you started as a chef, as a young chef? Did you think, oh, this is where I want to be, or did it never really come into your mind?
It didn't really come into your mind. I mean, when you're a young chef, you're just trying to learn how to cook.
Yeah.
Or, and stay out of trouble.
You managed to stay out of trouble?
Yeah. Well, mostly stay on the good side of the head chef. You know what I mean? It's always the right way to do it. So no, you never expect that. But the industry's changed massively over the last 25 years, hasn't it? You know what I mean? It's completely different now.
Yeah.
And even more so over the last 5 years as well. I mean, it just changes so fast, so quickly. So no, I mean, when you're really young and you work in the sections, I didn't ever think I'd be designing restaurants or designing F&B areas or kitchens or
sat in a grand dining room like this that's yours.
Yes.
So talk me through the kitchen itself, because I know you showed me around. What was your, like, the main kitchen in your restaurant?
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of different kitchens around here, but what was your thinking behind that? What did you, in your head, think, I need this to make this work for me? These are my luxuries that I want. You know, it was from scratch, wasn't it? So you could, I'm assuming, have whatever you wanted to an extent. So
yeah, I mean, you know, there is there a budget? Yes, there is. You know, for me, you know, I base my kitchens around 3 to 4 different principles and pieces of equipment. It's an Athénor suite, so I use an Athénor suite from France. We cook, you know, the menu on the suite. So it's about finding you know, what is my space, how much space have I got, and then where can I put my Athénor suite, and what does my Athénor suite need to do for the restaurant. So it's your main body of your cooking system, and then from that I'll extend into rational ovens, convection ovens, and then from that side I'll pick up the pieces of equipment that I need, the auxiliary pieces that I need, so Paco jets, thermomixers, you know, dehydrators, you know, all that sort of stuff. They're the sort of peripheral bits, and that's about developing your menu. But the Athénor suite is the engine room, it's your tank of your kitchen, and then from there you can start designing your kitchen around that. Because you don't want everything too far away from you. You only want 850 between stove and fridge. You need to make sure all your fridge is in the right area. You just got to map it out and plan it out and think through what your menus are going to be like and what menu you're doing and your food philosophy for the specific restaurant.
Yeah.
So you get your kitchen right.
Yeah, no, exactly. And talking about kind of like your food philosophy, and you obviously still have the restaurant in London, Ormer. So is your food here a completely different offering to London?
It is,
yeah?
yes, very, very much so. We are, you know, Shaun Rankin at Grantley Hall is tasting menu only, 8 courses or 12 courses, and wine flights to go with that. We cook in season. We have, you know, fabulous kitchen gardens to work from. We've got great local produce, great local supply chains, you know, around the Yorkshire area. The food is completely different. I mean, you know, we're developing our own style of a tasting menu. And remember, we're in Yorkshire, so we can't be too small on everything.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah, is it diner kind of driven a little bit there? They want the meat and 2 veg.
No, not really. So principally for me, coming to Yorkshire, I was thinking, you know, on this project, I was like, well, do I use? What do I do? How do I look at this? So I thought, right, let's just strip everything back. Let's look at what Yorkshire's great and good at, right? And all those little things. Is British fare? Was it ever good? Is it good? How do you recreate fish and chips? It's been done before. It's been, you know, completely done before. So I thought, let's think about childhood memories, which is what food's all about anyway.
Yeah.
It is about childhood memories.
Yeah.
So for, you know, to start off with, there's a tomato dish on there, which isn't a tomato, but it is a tomato, and it looks like a tomato. You know, and I remember sitting in my granddad's greenhouse, you know, when I was 5 or 6 year old in the summer, eating tomatoes from the greenhouse with bread and butter and vinegar.
Nothing better.
So how can I create that childhood memory onto a plate? One of the courses in there is scampi. How can I develop a scampi dish? Right, so when people sit down from Yorkshire or wherever they come from, they go scampi and seaweed. I register that. I recognise that.
Yeah.
But it's loyal to Yorkshire as well. It's loyal to Whitby. It's loyal to Hartlepool. It's loyal to Thirsk. It's loyal to Ripon. It's loyal to Harrogate. So I developed the food philosophy and the menus based around what Yorkshire has to offer.
Yeah, and do you find having this project as kind of reinvigorated you a little bit? Is it like new kind of inspiration? And like you said, you love a challenge. So have you found like not a new passion, because you're clearly passionate about what you do, but has it kind of taken you to a different level?
Yes, very much so. So, you know, I was working hard, you know, as a chef, and you know, I did a lot of TV, and you know, you do Saturday Kitchen, One Great British Menu, and all those fabulous things that, you know, take you on your journey. And then what happens is you get caught up in a rat race, and you get caught up in a world which is not your world, and it's a new world. between books and TV and you know, and this kind of stuff. You know, people, you know, start, you know, wanting more of you, and before you know it, you're actually walking away from the stove, and you're actually walking away from the kitchen, and you're actually starting to develop restaurants and develop a business and develop, you know, different things as a brand. So SR, Shaun Rankin, is a brand. You get caught up in it. So for 4 years, I was caught up in opening places and running a business and actually forgetting about what I love, which is cooking and developing restaurants in a way that I want to run a restaurant and be part of it and get my passion back. So it is right, yes. For 4 years, I left the marketplace. So for me, coming back to Grantley Hall, it's reinvigorated me so much that it's actually given me my passion back into food and what I do.
Yeah, I mean, you can really tell that you're so passionate about it, just like walking around, and even in the areas that aren't anything to do with food, you know, you can really tell that this project has like really got under your skin.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, if you cut me open, I am hospitality, you know, all the way through. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We won't do that today. So, obviously, the restaurant in London, Grantley Hall, and we talked about this earlier, and you're based in Jersey with your family.
Correct, yeah. My children are still there, yeah.
So how do you have a work-life balance for all the chefs that I talk to out there? How are you managing to do that? Or is that for the past however long just been put to one side a little bit?
Yeah, it's there is no work-life balance, you know, to be fair. But then, you know, would I change it? No. Have you made some mistakes? Yes. Over the last 4 years, just getting into business with people that I shouldn't have got into business with, to be honest. So that's kind of put me back a few years. So there is no work-life balance. I can't see that ever changing for the next sort of 5 years because I've got to work harder now. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because I did take a step back, as I said. So. You just try and make the best of it. So commuting is quite hard, you know, 3 days here, 2 days there, 1 day here, a day with the kids. Yeah. You just have to get on with it.
So is it quite tough then? Because it's a side that I don't talk to chefs about that much. Is, you know, how important is it to still have a bit of you time, a bit of a personal life, not just all encompassed, you know, Shaun Rankin as the brand. Like, there's obviously you away from that. So.
There isn't much of it. My children are still young, so Harry's 7 and Ethan's 12, and you know, they when you're there, they consume all your time. Yeah. So I think until they start to get a little bit older, you can see it more on Ethan now. He's getting a little bit older, and he doesn't want you anymore. So he doesn't rely on you anymore. He just relies on you for money and taxi rides.
Oh no!
But Harry does. So until they get a bit older, then I think that's when you might get a little bit of free time for yourself.
Yeah, and is it? I mean, I'm sure you have an end goal. Is there a plan that you won't always be doing this mad commute and dipping in and out, or is that what makes you tick? Is that what you enjoy?
I do. I really do enjoy that. I like the fast-paced side of life. Don't get me wrong. You know, it's nice to sit down and have a couple of beers and chill out after service or whatever. But I do enjoy it. I like the travel. I like meeting people. I like seeing new things. One thing I need to do more now because Grantley Hall's open is get back out into the marketplace, into Europe and into America, and start eating and look at other restaurants, because I've not done anything for such a long time, because I've just been away from food, really. To be honest, and that's honest. Yeah.
And so you've been open 10 weeks officially. And we talked about this earlier. You've already spoken to the guides and things, and you're aware that you're going to slightly miss most of those now just because of the dates. Yeah. But that in mind, was this everything around this? Is this for the guides? Is the plan you want a star? You want to be in all the guides? Is that what the focus is?
Yeah, very much so. There's a lot of passion gone into this. It's self-driven. What is my ambitions? Personally as a chef, and you've got to have self-ambitions as well. And when you set a place like this up with 36 covers, tasting menu only, if I set this up as a 1-star, trying to achieve a 1-star, then I would fail. So we have to look at it as going we're going for 2 stars. Okay. We are driving hard and working hard to get to 2 stars. That's what we want to achieve. And do we have the service? Yes, we do. Do we have the right people? Yes, we do. Do we have the culinary skill? Yes, we do. Do we have the passion? Yeah, we do. We want to get, Shaun Rankin at Grantley Hall to that level. In whether it's in Michelin, Good Food Guide, an AA, and top 100 restaurants, etc., etc., etc. We are very ambitious. We want to, really go there. And it's not just selfishness. It's for Grantley Hall, because what we do here is hopefully, work together. It works hand in hand. So if we do a great job and we get recognised by by the hard work that the teams do, then hopefully Grantley Hall becomes successful and the business becomes successful.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's a business. It's all about putting bums on seats or people in beds, and that's that's inevitably that's what it's about. So yes, there is some self-passion in there and some selfishness there, because I've been away for the store for so long, and I do want to go, right back into that. But also, it's appropriate for this restaurant to achieve that because of where it sits.
Yeah, and you hear some chefs, they want to give their stars back. The guides aren't relevant anymore. You're obviously very much on the side that they are relevant and they are vital for the industry.
For the business, for the business and for the industry, absolutely. I think. Do people, some people do give their stars back. I mean, that's fine because that's their own choice. Is there a lot of stress involved in it? Yeah, I think. But then, I held a 1 star back to back for 14 years. You know what I mean? So, and it's a great achievement to do that. Did I feel any less last year when I didn't have a star? Because I left my restaurant in Jersey. No, I didn't.
No.
Actually. I didn't feel, it wasn't anything, a piece missing inside. It's just, well, I just need to find another restaurant or the right restaurant to get back on to do that. Are they important? Yes, they are. They are very important. They're important for business because, now worldwide people recognise what Michelin is, and they, we live on mobile phones. We live. Digital, we're always trying to find, the hotspots or the best restaurants or whatever. And that's procured by the guides. Yeah. Realistically, you know what I mean?
So, having held a star for 14 years, can you remember what it felt like when you got that first star?
Yeah, absolutely.
How was that?
Yeah, it was the best day of my life.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Could you?
Not the best day. It's Harry and Ethan, but...
but
close.
Career-wise.
Career-wise, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's great self-achievements are great, getting your star, keeping your star, winning Great British Menu, cookbooks, TV, all this sort of stuff. They're all, sort of chunks of your career. They're all different.
Yeah.
They are all different.
And we're at that time of year again now where the guide comes out, so you will probably know how certain chefs are feeling right now.
Yeah.
Those who are retaining, I'm sure that is always you're just waiting now it's an invite, so once you've got your invite you feel okay. And then those who really would like to be in the star club, so to speak. So how does that feel, that build up to Michelin every year? And I suppose, was it a bit of a relief maybe last year not having to think about it? Yeah.
It's you're consciously stressing. You are. But I think as you get older, I'm 47 now, so you start to just relax a little bit more and understand. I think it's also about talking to the guide and developing a relationship with the guides, whether it be Michelin, AA, Good Food, or whatever, and understanding and eating out and looking at your product and analysing it, going, well, is it there? Is it there? Does it need more work? If it needs more work, then don't expect to get any recognition if it needs more work. So you've got to be self-analytic, you know what I mean, in that process. And then if you are, then, if you think you're ready and you think that it is time, or your product is good enough, then I think you should have confidence in that. And I think certain chefs do have that confidence. Yes, it's a bit of a nail-biting moment, the day before, and you never know, do you? Because they take them away just as fast as they give you them.
Well, yeah, no, exactly, and I'm sure that's an experience that nobody wants to go through.
No, because careers are careers, and restaurants are built up on reputation, as we know. Everyone's a critic, and people, it's their lives and their passion, and if something's taken away from them, it can really damage them. Yeah. Personally, and family wise or business wise, you know what I mean. So, and the guides are very mindful and careful of that they know that it does hurt people dramatically.
Yeah, and because it's quite tough, really, isn't it? When the guide comes out, because everyone's like, "Oh, look at these amazing new stars," and then it's like, "Oh, have you seen who's not in the guide?" And it's quite brutal, isn't it?
Can be, yeah. It is a bit of a like a, no, type thing. Yeah. You're not in, I am.
Yeah.
Which is not great.
No one wants to be kicked out of the club, do they?
No, they don't. No, absolutely not. No.
And I know you said that you've been out of it a little bit with this project and everything in terms of eating out and stuff like that. But do you think about who might get stars? Do you get involved in that at all? Do you ever think, no, they deserve a star, or it'd be good to see them do well, or do you just keep out of it?
Yeah, I try and keep out of as much as possible. I don't, it's not my business. I haven't eaten out for quite a while, as in I should be, travelling more and eating out, because of the last 4 years, and obviously developing this place has kept me, really busy and tight, with no time at all. But when you do go somewhere, there's a place, a local place here I went to last year. It's called The Hare at Scorton, and they are working really hard, and it's only a matter of time before I think they'll get a Michelin star. Yeah. And you see things like that, which are going, you can see the creativity, and you can see the hard work going into it, and the flavours, and it just works. But I don't get involved.
No.
Because you want to try and focus on your own self. You know what I mean? And
so, talk to me about the produce and things like that, because you said you want it to be within 30 minutes radius?
30 miles.
30 miles, sorry, 30 mile radius. And how achievable is that? And I suppose on a separate note as well, this is such a huge, project. It's a massive venue. It's doing weddings. It's doing, you've got your other restaurants. How do you keep food waste and things down? Because that's such a big topical thing at the minute. So, should we start with food waste, and then we'll move on to your produce?
Yeah. Well, we are quite lucky to be running tasting menus, so we understand our covers. Things we do now, it takes such a long time sometimes, obviously, to get and develop a product which is ready for the menu. You know what I mean? Sometimes it can take 2-3 days to get it ready, with different formats and different cooking times and stages and this kind of stuff. Yes, there is the fresh product that comes in from the gardens and etc. But we don't have a great deal of wastage, because we are literally just cooking and working, for what we've got booked in slightly, a little bit more. Yeah. We only fail in certain areas when we don't have the dietary requirement information. So if we're prepping for, say we've got 28 covers booked tonight, we prep for 36 because we know we're going to get walk-ins, full capacity. We'll do we'll create 36 tomato dishes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that's some people might come in and not give us the right information, so they'll say, oh well, I don't need goat's cheese, and I don't need this, and I don't need that, and then but we're very we are really, really marginal, absolutely.
And do you think chefs are more conscious of that now?
Very much so, because ingredients is going up tenfold continuously all of the time. Yeah. The marketplace is different. Everything costs so much more. The fisherman, costs, his expenses go up, so he passes that on. Everything's going up. Animal feed's going up. The cost of living's going up. But unfortunately, food doesn't go. The price that we sell the food for doesn't go up.
Yeah.
It goes up marginally, but not to the extent of where everything else goes up.
Yeah.
So to run the business and keep your costs down, you've got to manage yourself really well, manage your kitchen and manage your product really well. and understand the wastage side and what could be developed from that byproduct. Can there be something else developed from that byproduct to keep your costs down?
Yeah, it's like it's like a new way of thinking about it, rather than this is what I'm doing and forget about the rest.
Yeah, so. Yeah, absolutely. There's got to be an end game for whatever you're not using. You know what I mean? So, you know, if we've got, say for instance, if you've got lamb on the menu and your best end of lamb, you prep your best end of lamb, you've got your fat from your best end of lamb. So what do you do with your fat? On your trim. So your trim goes into making your sauce, and your fat can be used to make your sauce as well. But then we take some of the fat, render the fat down, make lamb fat, then make lamb fat scones. So we make byproducts from all different things. And chefs are very clever now, and they're managers. They manage themselves. They manage businesses. They manage a team. You know, they manage their own selves as well. So you know, they're it's not just cooking anymore.
Yeah, very different to the industry you started in.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And staying on that kind of topic, so like sustainable produce, and I listened to a talk with James Lowe recently and he was talking about sustainability, and he said it's a bit one of them words that he feels like people throw around and don't really understand what it means. So what are your kind of thoughts on sustainable produce, and how do we educate people to make sure that those small changes do make a difference? Yeah,
it is a word that's, you know, thrown around, and you know, what does it mean? What does it mean in anyone's, you know, vocabulary? It means certain things in different people's vocabulary. For me, you know, if I can shop, buy, grow, rear everything in a 30-40 mile radius round Grantley Hall, Shaun Rankin Grantley Hall, then I'm doing the right job. That's for me, that's sustainability. That is working with people around the area and helping them grow their business. Obviously, you know, they're growing correctly, or they're rearing correctly, or they're, you know, whatever or whoever the producer is. That for me is the right path. Do I want to go out, you know, and get tuna from, you know, from the Maldives? No. Does people expect tuna in Yorkshire at Grantley Hall? Not really, no.
Yeah.
You know, do they expect sushi? Yeah, and Pan-Asian, of course. But for me, everything here is on the doorstep, and you've got to utilise that. So it's not about me finding a product to put on the menu. It's actually me finding the products and developing those products to fulfil the needs of the menu, if you know what I mean. Rather than trying to find something to put on the menu, I'm trying to find, you know, how this menu fits in. And so, you know, we're well into fermentation at the moment, you know what I mean? So things that we're growing this year, we're fermenting all through the year, you know, to give us what we need for the winter months, instead of, you know, this restaurant's not going to have pineapple or mango on the menu. Why should it?
Yeah.
You know, it's going to have elderberries, and it's going to have, you know, blackberries and raspberries and strawberries that we've fermented or we've preserved or we've done something with to see us through the shoulder months.
Yeah. And sticking with that kind of sustainable topic, you mentioned it earlier about staff. So in terms of them keeping staff, getting staff, you said that you've got an academy for training.
Correct.
So I suppose how hard has it been to get the right staff, because it's a big place to fill, and then how do you keep that staff to make sure you stay at the level that you want to achieve? I'm slightly lucky because I've opened restaurants and I've had my own restaurants, so I've developed relationships with core teams, and people have worked for me for, you know, such a long time. Like Max, my senior sous chef, you know, he's worked for me, you know, with me and together for over, you know, 8-9 years now. Really?
So, and he worked in Bohemia when I opened Bohemia. He worked at Ormer, Jeresy. He worked at Ormer Mayfair. He worked at Hay Hill, the members club that I opened, and then he worked at Ormer Mayfair as well. So he's come full circle with me, and now he's here.
It's not always easy to find people that will stick with you like that.
Absolutely,
though, is it?
yeah. You know, and you've got to, you know, we're all chefs are, you know, known for being bad-tempered and, you know, and mistreating people, and I think you are when you're in your younger years. But then you develop your own self and your own mind, and you develop a sense of, well, would I want to be treated like that? No. So you've got to change your mindset and think, right, this has got to be different now. How can I attract the right staff? How can I keep the right staff? and how can I develop them, and more importantly, how can I make them enjoy their job? Because if they're enjoying their job and they want to be here, that's going to shine.
Yeah.
It's going to shine in the product, and it's also going to from the food side, but it's also going to shine in the product from the service side. And you know, I have the responsibility to, I look after my restaurant, so I look after the front house and the back house. So is it hard? Has it been hard to find staff? Yes, it is hard. We're, as you can see, it's Grantley Hall, we're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
For 10 minutes from Ripon, but
Yeah.
you know, we've got a fabulous staff accommodation,
Yeah.
you know, which is, you know, 6 kitchens, cinema room, gymnasium. I mean, it's all there for them,
Yeah.
absolutely. Do people want to leave London and come to Yorkshire? I think there is a certain person that does that. Monica, my restaurant manager, she was at Texture and Marcus Waring, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was happy to leave London and find her own little part of life in Yorkshire.
Bit of peace and
Bit
quiet.
of peace and quiet, yeah, absolutely. Where she could develop her own self, her own life.
Yeah.
Or, you know, London's, you know, great for some people, but you know, it's not sustainable, you know, for your own life. You can't. I couldn't live there, you know what I mean, any longer. It's just.
Yeah.
But you know, so going back to your points, we've developed a training academy here, which all of our staff utilise, go on different courses, management courses, and we train in house, and if we can train in house and offer great staff accommodation at a 4-star level, right?
Yeah.
It really is, and a training academy, great area to work, great wages, they get looked after. I mean, you know, that's.
There's not much else you can do.
There's not much else you can do.
No.
You know, and from a place like Grantley Hall, it certainly magnetises, people, and people want to come and work in an establishment like this, or want to work in Michelin Chateau, or want to work in a fine dining, or Fletcher's, which is the brasserie. The project was hard to get the right staff. Are we still continuously looking for the right staff? Yeah, and I don't think we'll ever stop, because it just changes and evolves, and there's always somebody that's leaving, unfortunately.
Yeah. And the points you've made in the in-house training, is that something that the industry maybe really needs to think about and embrace in terms of bringing young people in? Because it's a topic that gets talked about all the time. How do we get more people who want to stay?
How do you develop?
Yeah. So
yeah. It is. You know, is the industry, is it a dying industry? No, it's not. It's a fabulous industry to be in. It's changed. It's evolved. Gone are the days of, ridiculous hours in ridiculous environments with ridiculous people, with attitude, and all those days have gone now. You know what I mean? People don't have to stand for those sort of things. Whereas before is, when I first started, when I was 16, I was knocking on a door in London to try and get a job, try and get into a kitchen. I mean, you can walk into any kitchen now in the world and get a job.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how crazy it is. You've got to develop your people, because they'll just go. They'll go somewhere else. If you don't develop them, if you don't look after them, they will go. And from the apprentice side, and from the school leaver side, you've got to try and find these people that don't know what to do with their lives, that like hospitality, or they like working in kitchens, or they've seen it on the TV, and really mould them and develop them.
Yeah.
And having the training academy at Grantley Hall is fabulous.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that Grantley Hall will pick up accolades for certain things, in the industry, that's focused that way. And I think when people recognise what Grantley Hall's done in that way, I'm sure people will follow suit.
Yeah. And in some respects, especially for chefs, it's become quite a glamorous job. People see kind of a shiny side to it, rather than all the hard work that kind of goes in behind sometimes. So how do you kind of instill that in young people who see a head chef, or see a star, or see someone on telly who just think, I want to just go straight to there?
Yeah.
Like, how do you rein that in? How do you nurture that and make them realise that it takes time?
Well, to be honest, it is quite difficult to make them understand that there's a big chunk in the middle that you need to do before you get there. You know what I mean? But then the world's changed. Everything's changed, and it's changed because of technology. Whereas before, when you were in the kitchens when you were younger, you had a recipe file, and you wrote your recipes down. You cooked it, and then somebody would give you that recipe.
Mm-hmm.
Where now is you can go online and pick up any recipe you want to, and anywhere around the world. You can just Google, how can I make this, and then follow some simple instructions on an iPad and make it. Whereas before you didn't have that technology.
Yeah.
Right. So you had to be shown how to do it, or you taught yourself how to do it, because there was no one else. You couldn't just pick it up and go, well, yeah, great. Now I know how to do it. Fine, great.
Yeah.
So people are like a fast pacing and fast tracking through the business because everything is available for them, and I think that's what it is, and people can see, yeah, I want to get there. I want to be that person. I know exactly how to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so in terms of your team, how many people do you have in the kitchen at
10.
yours? Okay.
Yeah.
And is the food it's just Shaun Rankin, or is it a combination? Do you have input from staff? Can your chefs put stuff on the menu, or is it just you? How does that work?
So I develop with the team.
Yeah.
So the philosophy is a taste of home. That's the philosophy of the menu. That's what we're doing. So then I'll say these are the principles set out. And then we'll talk about certain, like we'll strip down a dish. So we'll look at it and go, right. So we're gonna make scampi. How do we create the best scampi? So then, well, I have an idea of this, and well, what is the combination? The combination is seaweed. Okay, so let's look at seaweed and strip seaweed down, and then okay, we'll make a dashi. We'll make a gel. We'll make a seaweed jam. We'll make a seaweed marmalade, seaweed mayonnaise. Okay, then we need to batter the langoustine. Let's use a langoustine. Why are we going to use a langoustine? Well, we're going to use a langoustine because this restaurant deserves to use a langoustine. So we'll buy the fresh direct langoustine from Scotland, and it's alive, it's beautiful, it's lovely. Okay, so how do we make that the best? Well, I have a recipe for a batter. Okay, well, I have a recipe for a tempura batter. I have a recipe for a batter with 3 different flours in. Okay, well, let's try that now. That works. Those two don't. So what idea have you got? Well, I've got a recipe for tapioca batter. Okay, this tapioca batter takes 7 days to make. Okay, so let's try that then. So it's about working with a team and working with your so they develop, you develop with them, and the whole place develops.
Yeah.
Because if you leave them at the side, they're just going to go somewhere else. They don't feel part of the project. They don't feel part of what they're trying to do. So, a sense of, being is a sense of like, well, that person's come up with that idea. So every time that person sees that dish, he goes, that was my idea.
Yeah.
He doesn't tell you that, but inside, it's like, well...
It's important for confidence.
Of course it is, yeah. And it's important for confidence, as correctly as you said, for the self-learning and for this, for the self-achievements further down the line. Because I manage the team like that, and we develop so that everybody has an input and everybody feels part of that. Whether you've started or you've been here 10 years or whether you've just on day one, you have to get involved.
Yeah. And do you remember the first dish you ever got on a menu?
No.
No. I thought it would be just like sneaking in my yes, that was my very first dish. But no.
No, I can't remember.
There's probably been a lot of dishes though.
It's been too many. Yeah.
Brilliant. And I suppose a final kind of question is, this project is still going, isn't it? This is very much ongoing for you. So in the next 5-10 years, is this where you see yourself? And do you think you would? I don't know whether you can answer this or not, but do you think you would like to maybe drop being in London and just be here?
I don't know. I mean,
sorry to pick on the spot.
Yeah, no, no. I mean, I love my restaurant Ormer in Flemings, which is in Mayfair. I love it. But nothing's forever. At the end of the day, it's not my restaurant. I have a contract with them, and and we work hand in hand. And I consult really realistically about the menus and about the philosophy of the food and about the philosophy of the restaurant, etc. This is Shaun Rankin at Grantley Hall, so this is my flagship now. Will I be here? Yeah, I will be. Will I stay here? Yes, of course I will be. So, this is me home now.
Yeah.
And if I do anything else auxiliary, then that's fine. But this is where I'll be. So, I'll be cooking here, 5 days a week.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this interview, and if you have any comments, feel free to tweet us or comment on the post. We're making all of our interviews available to download. And finally, if you like what we do, whether it's our podcast or our videos or even our features, please head over to our Patreon page and support us there.